I could not have been more proud of the US people when our collective action got Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. So many of us spoke out together in the only language these corporations understand, money, and we actually did something which mattered in the protection of free speech in America. It was amazing to both watch and participate in, and I actually felt good about something happening in this country for the first time in many months. And then, well, the depression hit. Yes, punishing Disney and forcing them to do the right thing was important. Yes, it was gratifying to see free speech protected for once. And yes, anything which successfully pushes back against Trump and the darkness enfolding this country is necessary and brings a huge sigh of relief. But at the end of the day, so many things are so fucked up in this country right now that this one win only served to remind me of how bad it has gotten. It hasn't even slowed Trump and MAGA down in their continuing attack on Americans, and if anything, they seem to be ramping it up. I've really been struggling the last couple of weeks to speak out, which is unusual for me, as I'm normally a pretty upbeat person who likes to share her opinion, as you've undoubtedly noticed. I've just felt so sad at how bad everything is here in the US, and our small win over free speech seemed to do little to stop the ongoing attack on America by MAGA, and how much more of it we must endure before there is even a hope of ending the madness. Psychological warfare. I don't really know who is running the White House and the federal government. Trump is the obvious frontman, but it has become clear he doesn't really even know what is happening around him most of the time, or what his sycophants are doing in his name. Trump's narcissism seems to be compounding against his steadily worsening dementia and health problems, and whoever is truly masterminding the war against the US population has almost free rein to terrorize us at will. People like Stephen Miller, J.D. Vance, and Pete Hegseth are likely culprits, plus those behind the whole Project 2025 movement. Interestingly, most of what has been happening has all of the classic signs of psychological warfare. Most conflicts in history are started this way, with the aggressor going in first with this type of tactic to soften up the population before a physical war starts. It is an extremely effective tactic for lowering an enemy's ability to fight back, since the population starts out terrified, depressed, and demoralized before the actual fighting even begins. The most common tactics include discrediting the leaders of the opposition, creating fake news and media broadcasts to manipulate beliefs, intimidation and threats of dire consequences, fake social media accounts and polls that falsely claim support for the aggressor, attacking the credibility of well-trusted public and private institutions, relentless propaganda against the society they are targeting. This is MAGA's core playbook, and we must not forget that the US government through the CIA and other agencies is very well practiced in all of these techniques. We have used them across the world for decades to push our agenda, and it is quite scary to consider just how much expertise the Trump regime can call upon when they want to target citizens. Although many have criticized these kinds of interventions when used abroad, few really stood in the way of developing this ability in our government, and now we must face the very monster created in our name as it is turned on us. Is this a coup? Yes, there is just no other word to describe it now that he is bringing in the actual military to suppress dissent. Although Trump himself seems to be often confused about what is happening, the people in his cabinet and those supporting him around the country do not want to live in the United States as it has existed for almost 250 years. They just don't, as they hate everything that I love about the freedoms we used to have in this country. Pretending that their actions are part of the normal political process is burying your head in the sand and hoping the fascists won't notice you during the purge. What they really want is to throw out the existing Constitution and write a new white Christian nationalist version. This will enshrine Christianity, heterosexuality, lack of rights for women and minorities, and a firm rule by rich white men as the law of the land in this country. The onslaught over the last 8 months has been a classic psychological warfare period to soften up the population in their war against the existing United States, and they are now quickly moving towards the actual physical conflict stage as they ready troops to deploy in democratic cities across the country, fighting the depression. As my son and his new wife reminded me yesterday, we need you to keep fighting to give us courage to do the same. That really hit home with me, as it is true for every one of us who are out there pushing back against the Trump regime. They want the psychological warfare to demoralize and break us, as a strong and united resistance is the only thing that can actually stop them from completing their coup. I don't have any illusions about how dangerous it is, especially to a trans woman like me, to write these posts and put out into the world how wrong what MAGA is doing actually is. What few rights any of us will have left if MAGA gets what they want will certainly be denied to me. And I know it is not a coincidence that just like the Jews were actually only about 1% of the population of Germany in 1933, trans people make up pretty much the same 1% of the US population today. The authoritarian playbook always wants to identify a small part of the population that is broadly disliked, and use them as the reason for everyone to lose their rights as they consolidate power. As awful as all of that is, what has always been stronger for me is my absolute and total hatred for those who hurt other people and feel pleasure in doing so. I cannot abide bullies, and no matter what happens to me, I refuse to give in to depression if it means the Republican and MAGA sociopaths who glory in the pain they inflict on the innocent have a clear path for their depraved goals. Or in simpler terms, they can kiss my ass right in the crack. As always, keep fighting, vote, support each other, take a break when you need to, but always come back when you can, and never let them break you no matter what it takes.